Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are talking about distractions aren't all bad and focusing differently. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I'd love to hear from you. I would love to become friends online, especially if you have any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or you just want to say hey, hi, and hello to me. I would really love to hear from you. Also, just so you know, I don't read that every time. I just memorized it because I want to be able to give you all the suggestions for the reasons why you should come talk to me on Instagram. You can also send me an email to realpositivegirl@podcast@gmail.com. All of that information is available for you in the show notes so that you don't have to guess how to spell any of that. But let's just jump into the episode. So again, we're talking about distractions aren't all bad and focusing differently. So I don't know if you know it or not, but there is power in distractions. I almost named the episode The Power of Distraction. But then I was like, people might not understand what I'm talking about, might just not care. But I want you to care. I want you to understand that there's power in distractions. And I mean a good kind of power, not like an evil kind of power, like this unknowing kind of situation. But most likely a power you never knew existed, because distractions are always seen as bad things that we should avoid, right? Ask yourself, if someone talks about a distraction, there's always a negative connotation strapped down to that, and it's never like, oh yeah, those are the best things ever. No, but actually, distractions can be so good for us when not overused. That is the caveat. Unfortunately, this time, something I'm talking about, there is a caveat. So when not overused, they can be one of the best things ever. So I'm hoping I can change your mind on this. If you don't currently believe that, I hope you do by the end. So I'm the kind of person that gets distracted pretty easily, because I want to make sure I am on top of everything all of the time. All of the time. And maybe you would even consider, if you have listened to the show long enough, probably at least 5 episodes in, you probably like, yeah, Sabrina, you seem to get distracted when you go on a tangent. Not necessarily what I'm talking about. It's more of a deep thought, but I hear you. I get what you're saying. But, I want to be on top of everything all of the time. So it just feels like, you're bouncing from thing to thing. And I know it's ridiculous. And yes, I'm working on it, but it's the way that it is right now. Continual progress is progress. But, it's also because my mind is always busy, always thinking, always considering, always trying to figure something out, solve the puzzle. It's always working on something that I thought I had forgotten, right? Something that I didn't realize was really important to me, because randomly I will say things out loud and my husband will be like, that's what you were thinking about? And I'm like, no, it was just my brain was processing it. And now this is the moment, this random moment at 3:23 in the afternoon on a Tuesday is when this information is going to be delivered to me. And I say it out loud so I don't forget. But, yeah, I think I forget it, but really I just had that on the back burner simmering in my mind and just kind of letting it figure it out. And I want to know, is your mind like that too? Because I feel like a lot of our minds are like that. We maybe don't take a moment to realize that's what's happening. You're like, I don't know how to solve this problem right now. I don't have the time to sit and ponder deeply about it. So you have to move on to something else. But then you realized that it was still there, still important to you, and your brain figured it out in your downtime while you're doing something else. And I find that to be so amazing. But like everyone else, I can get distracted from what I'm doing because I'm, bored or disinterested in what I'm doing. I feel like it's more of the latter, because if I have to do something and I'm just not wanting to do it, or it just feels like it is the last thing I want to do, or it causes me discomfort or unhappiness or just not fulfillment or joy in any shape or form, not even a sliver of that, I'm just like, ooh, where is the first distraction? What else can I be doing right now? But this is normal. I want you to know that. I know that everyone, is such a wet blanket about distractions and how they are one of the worst things ever, but it's normal for us to get distracted. It just is. And the normal response to getting distracted when you should be doing something else is to not let distractions steal time from you. To not allow something else to steal your focus and cause you to waste time. These are the kind of words and language that is used when talking about distractions. But I don't believe that all distractions are bad for us. As I kind of alluded to in the beginning of the episode, I think that they can be powerful, useful, helpful, those moments where you're like, thank goodness this distraction came along because I needed it for a moment. And I just, and maybe you've never thought of it that way. I want you to start thinking of it that way. It's nice for us to kind of step out of our comfort zones and those little boxes that we live in our mind, totally normal, by the way, again, and really start to reconsider things and see if we can flip it and be like, everyone in society, not everyone, but most people in society consider this to be bad. What if I decided to consider it good? Or is there a good side to it? Is there a silver lining? Can this be helpful? You know what I mean? So anyway, that was just like a small tangent for you. But yeah, so I don't believe that all distractions are bad for us. And, it's true that these can throw us off track for a period of time, right? But with proper awareness and time, awareness of our time and responsibility, it's really important for you to be aware of how much time you have to complete whatever thing you have to do and the responsibilities that you are being held for, right? What you have to get done, what people are expecting you to get done, what you agreed to get done. Distractions, besides those things, of being aware of those things, distractions can be used to induce so many positive things. So many. And that's what I want to chat with you about today. I'm going to share some examples of how distractions can be helpful and positive. And I have 5 really good examples for you that I think will really help you to see distractions as really great things. So, the first one that I want to talk about is distractions can ease pain and help you cope. So, if you're going through something really tough, the example would be, let's say someone in your life has died, has passed away, and you are having to deal with that pain because they were so close to you. They were like your close family or your friend or whomever, and it just feels like you're dying inside. It feels like you're dying inside because that person is no longer here, right? Or maybe that person is here and they're like in the hospital fighting for their life or whatever the situation is. Something really hard has happened and you're feeling so much pain and you're trying to figure out how to cope with all that pain, but it's so hard because it's so overwhelming, right? And it's so soul crushing and heartbreaking and all of these things. And even if it isn't something as extreme as like someone dying, maybe it's just like something else really bad happened, like maybe you got fired from your job or you're realizing this, that, and the other is going on in your life. You have pain and you need to figure out how to cope. This is the perfect moment for a distraction. Now, it allows you to not wholly, singularly focus on the pain that you're going through, right? So for me, in a different way to cope. For me, when I went through the passing of my mom when I was like 13, and I had a lot of pain and I was sad. But the distraction that I had, because normally, now thinking back on this, I think, wow, okay, that was probably a little rushed, but it was for the best. So for me, my mother died over a weekend, and I went back to school that Monday, right? I believe it was a Saturday she passed, and then Sunday was a day of mourning, and I live with my dad, and they weren't together, so that's kind of why there was that disjointedness. And then on Monday, I went back to school. I went back to school, and you might feel like that is really sudden. And a lot of people wouldn't make their kids go back to school. And I don't necessarily think I was made to go back to school, but I will tell you that school was a really good distraction. And I was sad and still heartbroken and ended up crying in a couple of my few first classes, and it was the beginning of the school year still. So it was tough because my new teachers were like, what's wrong with this girl? But it was such a good distraction because I still was thrown into an environment where I had a lot of things to do. I had classes, I had band, I was trying to do drama stuff, and learn a new language and do any other extracurriculars that I needed to do. And it helped. It helped ease the pain. It helped take my mind off of the pain for a little bit because I was still in there interacting with kids, trying to learn stuff. Seeing my friends, being able to cope and understand that despite the fact that this terrible thing is happening in my life, I still have these friends. I still have the opportunity to be alive and be a light in people's lives when my mother is no longer here, and just be able to take comfort in the time that I had with her, right? And all of these things. So I want you to know that if you're going through something super that's causing you pain, I'm not going to say super heartbreaking because maybe it's not heartbreaking, but it's painful. Maybe it's physically painful and you just need to cope. If you're able to find something that will provide a distraction, then it can make it so much easier to get through the most painful period and maybe get into a period where you're still dealing with pain, but not as much, and it doesn't hurt as badly, and you're able to kind of slowly walk back into regular life that doesn't make you cry every single day. So hopefully that makes sense. It can be super helpful for easing pain and helping you cope. The second one is distractions can take away from bad habits, negative impulses, and urges. So let's say that you had a really bad habit of overeating and a binge eating, when you're stressed and you have anxiety or whatever is happening. And that is the coping mechanism that you are normally leaning on, but you no longer want to do that. It's not healthy for you. Maybe you have goals for your nutrition and health, and you're like, crap, I can't continue to binge eat. This is not the way to go. And instead, you're like, okay, well, watching a TV show isn't a big enough distraction because I still need something to do with my hands. Maybe you'll play a video game, right? And you can play one on your phone or a handheld device or whatever it is. Maybe that's what you're going to do. And that is your distraction, right? And so, I think the thing about this is when people dive deep into distractions, they're like, it's always a distraction from something that you have to do, but they never think about something that you don't want to be doing, and you need a distraction from that thing, a good distraction from something bad. And having a bad habit like that, like binge eating, or maybe you used to be a smoker and you no longer do that, and you need to find something else to do during those times where you take a break. So maybe you would start with if you're normally go outside and take a smoke break every hour, maybe you'll still go outside because that feels comforting, but you'll just take a walk around the block. And have that as a distraction. You're okay, I'm doing something else. My mind's not on this thing because I'm not just sitting idly by, thinking so deeply about how you would rather have a cigarette or how you'd rather be eating something right now because it's comforting. You're going to choose something else to do so that even when those urges, those negative impulses to do something, let's say you just broke up with your significant other and all you want to do is call them and beg for them to come back, or you want to drive in your car to their place and talk to them and try to convince them to be with you. But instead, you find something else to do. You're okay, well, instead, maybe if you're strong enough not to drive to their place, you can drive somewhere else. Or if you think if you get in the car at all, that's where you're going to end up, you're going to stay home. You're going to call a friend. You're going to decide to get online, or you're going to FaceTime a friend, or you're going to play a video game, or you're going to do a puzzle, or you're going to do Legos. I don't know. Adults doing Legos, fun activity. I'm just putting that out there if you find something fun to build. But yeah, so just having a distraction to take your attention away from something that would be involving yourself in something that would be much worse for you is a great option. Number 3, distractions can divert attention away from stress. So whether this is personal stress at home, stress at work, stress with your kids, stress with your friends, your family, your spouse, whomever, right? If you are enduring stress, find a distraction. Find something that's obviously not going to cause you as much stress. So for me, when I'm stressed, I like to work out, which you're like, Sabrina, stress causes working out causes stress. It can for some. For me, it's very therapeutic. It's very calming in an energetic way. I love it. So I will go and work out, and it does provide me with a distraction from that stress, from anxiety, from deeply thinking about something that I'm worried about. For example, since I am totally open and honest with you guys, tomorrow, which I know this episode is, someone could listen to this a year from now and it wouldn't be true to the date, but still, tomorrow, I will be going to get an ultrasound test, not pregnant, for my abdomen, because we're trying to figure out if something is wrong with one of my organs. And I'm really nervous about it. I've been stressed about it for a whole week, since the appointment was booked, since I talked to my doctor about the pain. And for me, there were moments where I was just sitting there worried, stressed, anxiety about what is going to be found, what's going to happen, what are the next steps, right? But instead, there were moments where I was like that, but I was like, hey, I got to do something else. So I would play on my Nintendo Switch, play a game, or I would go and work out and do an extra workout, not something that's too much, but just something else to get my mind off of it. Or I spent some time creating content online, for Instagram. Or I would, today I decided to jump in and make a list of, quotes, helpful quotes for people for content. And I did my research for the podcast a little bit earlier than I normally would because I needed that distraction. Because I was watching TV at the time, but it wasn't a big enough distraction to keep me from really thinking and worrying about what could happen. So I believe that distractions can really help to divert your attention away from stress, especially if it's just so all-consuming. Okay, so number 4 is 4 out of 5. Just so you're aware, you're like, how many are there? There's only one more after this. So number 4 is distractions can aid in creativity. Creativity is such an interesting thing because everyone is creative in their own different ways, but distractions can really help foster creativity because if you're in the middle of doing something with this happens to me all the time. So if I'm doing my regular full-time job and I'm just going along creating, email templates or sending an email to the team or coming up with ideas for the next event for us to do online together, I will just need a break away from that. So I will lean more into a distraction of listening to one of my favorite shows like Friends while I'm working, because I've seen it a million times. I don't have to have my full focus on it, but it's just there in the background. And sometimes listening to what they're saying, the dialogue, really will spark in my brain oh my gosh, wow, that really drove me to a thought, and maybe I should talk about that. Maybe I should make a piece of content based on that, right? Or if I'm listening to music and I just kind of really fall deeply into a certain song that I love and take a moment to just really sing it out. I'm a singer, so I just sing and really throw my whole emotion into it. And sometimes that will push me to be oh my gosh, maybe I should feature the song in a piece of content or online or share it with people, or that share with them how it makes me feel. And then I will go and do that right then and there, right? I understand that not everyone will have the ability to do this during their workday, especially if they don't work at home like I do. And that will be kind of difficult for them. But there are different ways where it can, if you are at work, when I used to work in an office and something would spark, I would just write myself a little Post-it note, and then I would come back to it later. Because the distraction usually at my office was people having a conversation with me. So I would welcome those conversations, and then they would spur something in me. I'd write a little note and then get back to work, or again, listening to music or having conversations with clients on the phone. These little distractions can really add in to our creativity because The thing that I'm probably not clarifying here in regards to creativity is that when you're allowing yourself to be distracted a little bit by listening to music, overhearing other people's conversations, maybe listening to a show in the background, maybe taking a break here and there to I used to take a break and read a couple pages of a book in between work, or at home I will get up and I will change the laundry or go get a glass of water or go check the mail, go stand outside with the dog and throw the ball for a couple minutes. And it's just because you're allowing yourself to be aware of everything around you. Those things that you're, letting in are there to foster that creativity, are kind of just things that you're allowing to come in, and then your brain is working on things in the background that you're not fully focused on. But you know what I mean? It's like your subconscious mind is still working in the ways that you are creative. So for me, it's creating content and writing podcast episodes and thinking about how I'm going to run my coaching business. For someone else, it could be if they're a songwriter, or maybe they're writing a book. For someone else, it could be something they saw outside. If they I don't know, make clothes or love to put fashion together, and they see a color and it really speaks to them, and they're like, wow, I really need to figure out how to add that into my wardrobe, or make that add that into my style. Do you know what I mean? All these different ways that people are creative. Or maybe you take a break and you go get a snack and you think about how this snack could really be turned into an even better snack, or how you could use that ingredient in a dish if you like to cook or bake or whatever. You know what I mean? You see where I'm going? So if you allow your mind to be a little bit more open than being solely focused on just one thing, then those little streams of creativity and little insights and little pieces of information that you allow to flow in can turn into these wonderful things that just bloom into the biggest opportunities and just things that you can create. And it just came out of nowhere, right? It just came out of you just being a little bit open to everything around you. And I know this can be really tough for some people to understand, because you're like, wow, I feel like I would never get work done if I'm not zoned in. And sometimes I'm in the zone, right? Sometimes I am fully in the zone. I'm not paying attention to anything, but it's because I know that I have a deadline to get something done. And that's important. And that's important to understand. Sometimes you have a deadline. Sometimes you don't really have that much room for a distraction. There's no flexibility. There's no wiggle room. I understand that. But hopefully, most of the time, it is not that way. So hopefully that makes sense. I talked a lot about creativity and how I can aid in it. It's just because you're just allowing so many outside influences to still kind of come in and swirl around in your mind while you're trying to get something else done. And it just gives you those aha moments, those oh, wow, this was that final piece in this whole thought process of how to solve this problem or figure this out or follow through with this idea. And it just came out of nowhere. It's so nice. Okay, so the last one, number 5, distractions can make a tough or boring activity more enduring. This is really classic. And you're like, how is it classic? Well, let's go with the example that I will give you of today. I was working out and I was running. So normally when I do weightlifting, I just listen to music and it's fine. But when I'm running, I need a double down distraction. So there's a TV in our garage where our gym is. I'll have the TV on, I'll have the captions on, I'll have the volume turned all the way down. Okay. So you have the TV going, I'll have friends on, and there'll be captions. So I can, even though I've seen the show a million times, I basically know what they're saying, but it's nice to have captions. And then I will have music going in the background. It'll be turned up really loud. So that's why the TV's turned all the way down. And then I'll be running and it'll be perfect. Perfect. My husband thinks that's kind of crazy. He's like, why do you have so many things happening? It's he feels very overstimulated when he walks into those kind of things. I will regularly do that in my office. I'll have music blaring, and then I'll also have Instagram stories going in the background if I'm doing something that doesn't require laser focus. And it's because it's an activity that's really tough, or sometimes I can just get kind of bored in the moment and I need to keep on keeping on, right? So when I'm running, I enjoy running, but there are moments where I'm like, I just want to be done right now, or this is not enough. But if I am distracted enough, watching TV while listening to music at the same time, I am energized. I am pumped up. I'm like, okay, we can keep going. Okay, there's something really fun that I like on the TV. And what I will do is sometimes I'll be like directly looking at the TV while I'm running, and other times I will just be like looking straight ahead and listening to the music, and I will go back and forth like a ping pong. And I am just, because it helps me to like refocus on something else and then focus on this other thing. And the example for that being outside is more natural. It's like I'm listening to music, but then I'm also checking out the scenery. So I'm like back and forth. Sometimes I'm just zoned, looking straight, listening to the music. Other times I'm like, wow, look at the tree line. Wow, look at these houses. Wow, look at that Christmas decor. Like all of these things that I'm focusing on because I just need that double distraction to keep me going. And a lot of times, even when we are so invested in a habit that's good for us, like working out or maybe like cooking our own food, which I know can be really boring for some people, or stretching or going on a walk or, making a grocery list. Sometimes you just need to be distracted. When I'm making my grocery list, I have to be watching a TV show. And I'm usually on my phone as well, physically writing down my list, but also on my phone, like checking out recipes and then watching my show and then writing down a note of what we can eat for dinner and adding it to the grocery list and all of these things, because it helps me to just keep going. Don't give up on what I need to do. And to round this all out, I'm sure some people would be like, well, distractions, they sound fun, but you just need discipline, and that's how you get things done without a distraction. Sure. There are times, like I said, when you have deadlines, you will need discipline so you can just get it done. But I think that if you don't just have to get it done in that time period, or if it's a little bit more flexible, a distraction will be happily embraced so that the situation isn't as draining, isn't as dull, okay? So lastly, the key to determining whether a distraction is helpful to you or not is simply to ask yourself this: is this helpful right now? And I know that sounds like super lame. Like you're like, what? Really? You just want me to ask myself, is this helpful right now? Yeah, I do. Now, you'll have to be completely honest with yourself. That is the caveat here. So really consider if having a little break from your current task will better your focus when you have to return to said task. So if getting up to go change the laundry in the middle of whatever your work from home task is, if that will totally throw your focus off for what you're doing at that moment, then don't do it. Just continue to push through and then get up and take a break. Or if you're working at the office, maybe going and getting some water or grabbing a snack or talking to Diane, if you know, hey, doing that right now, that will put me really behind to finish this project or this, that, and the other. I shouldn't do that. I should wait. Then wait. Then really ask yourself, is this helpful right now? In my mind, I do ask myself that. Like, should I really get up right now and go play outside with the dog? Will that totally throw me off? Will that make me not want to get back into work mode? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Sometimes I just need to get outside and do that for 10 minutes and then come back and I feel refreshed and I am ready to finish everything up. So you'll know if taking a break will cause you to fall completely off the wagon of focus or not, if you are honest with yourself. So I want you to let me know what other positives you can find in leaning into distractions that help and not hinder you. So let me know if you have any of those things. I would really love to hear it. But that is it. Did you think that someone could talk so long about distractions? I bet you didn't. And it's possible that, ironically, you got distracted while listening to this, didn't hear the whole thing. Totally fine. You can listen again. But that is all. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. And I appreciate you listening, downloading, and sharing the show. You guys are amazing. So again, check the show notes for notes for the show. Also, to find me on Instagram, I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or to send me an email to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. And I cannot wait to hear from you on either or both of those. So until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.